Well, thank you all for coming to this to learn about AI for business. And so before we get started, I just kind of wanted to ask a few questions, kind of get a read of where everybody's at. And so go ahead and raise your hand, obviously, if you've heard the word AI thrown around lately. Okay, good. Everybody, for sure. So who has actually tried an AI tool, which is like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini? Okay, everybody. And so how many of you actually use it on a somewhat regular basis? Okay, most of you. And then, is anybody actually paying for a subscription? Okay, nice. Yeah, a couple of you too. And I mean, how many of you have thought you've tried it, but you just feel like you either didn't get it or it just didn't really give you a good result like what you were hoping for? I'm sure everybody's experienced that to some degree. And then last one, how many of you feel like your business could run smoother if you had extra time or an extra set of hands? Okay, everybody, obviously. So that's exactly what we're here to talk about. So with AI, there's so much hype around it, sci-fi stuff, but we're not here to talk about any of that. It's just about getting your business a good extra set of hands and practical ways you can start using AI today. So, So before we get into all the practical tools and examples, I just want to start with a bigger question. So why does AI even matter? And so we're living through a really pretty big, genuine shift in how business gets done. And so every generation has had its technology that changed everything, like the internet or email, the smartphone. And all these things significantly changed the way that business operated. And so AI is kind of that right now. And so the biggest reason why AI matters to us as business owners especially is because we're very busy and most of us are wearing 10 hats and, you know, answering emails, following up with leads, writing estimates, contracts, dealing with customers, doing invoices, you know, potentially managing employees or doing marketing, and somehow still trying to do the actual work, you know, that the business exists to do. So the biggest question is, can AI help me get some of my time back? And the answer is yes, if we use it in the right way. And so the way I like to think about AI is it's not magic, it's just a power tool. So if you think of it like a farm tractor, one skilled farmer with a tractor can do the work of potentially 20 or 30 farmers just using hand tools. So, or an excavator, it can dig a house foundation in a day, something that would take someone months to do on their own with a shovel. Or even like a circular saw, that it can help a builder work faster, cleaner, with less effort than if they just did it manually with a handsaw. So AI is the same way. It just multiplies your efforts to a tremendous degree, in a sense. So as a small business owner, you're wearing all these hats, and AI doesn't necessarily replace any of that. It can just help you do them all faster and better. So just like one farmer with a tractor can do the work of many farmers, one business owner or manager with AI can do the work of potentially 5 or 10 people. And so AI is to knowledge work what the tractor was to agriculture, in a sense. So we just have to learn how to use it right. Just like you have to know how to use a tractor properly. So I also wanted to address some fears on the front end. So AI is not coming for your business. You've probably heard it's taking over jobs and everything like that. And while it's true, there are job cuts and that kind of stuff, AI is not going to replace businesses because landscaping companies still need someone who knows how to run a crew. Contractors still need someone who can walk a job site to make decisions. Plumbers still need to fix pipes. So AI can't shake a hand. It can't walk a property. It can't notice all the small details or lead a team or care about your reputation. And it can't replace trust. So AI can't replace the skilled parts of what you do, but it can replace or assist with all the paperwork side of your business and what you do. So think of things like estimates, follow-ups, emails, social media posts, checklists, client explanations, SOPs, reminders, research, proposals, planning, The list goes on. There's just so much it can do when it comes to, paperwork and knowledge work, anything that you do on a computer, pretty much. And so AI itself is not going to replace your business, but someone who uses AI will become faster, more responsive, more efficient than someone who refuses to use AI. And some of you might be concerned that you're not techie enough or understand enough how to use AI. But if you know how to send a text message or an email, and you have experience providing instruction to an employee, subcontractor, a spouse, or a child, then you definitely got what it takes to use AI efficiently. Just like you don't need to be a mechanic to know how to drive a car, you just need to learn how to steer it. So a few expectations on what AI is good at and what it's not good at. So AI is good at writing. So anything like emails, proposals, contracts, responses, job descriptions, it can do that really well. It can answer questions, give you options to think through, summarize long things into short things, brainstorming ideas. It can help you get started. If you just don't know where to start, it can create a great first draft. It can help you organize your thoughts if you just dump all your thoughts in and help it. It can help you create a clear plan or turn it into bullet points. And it's good at doing repetitive tasks that just eat up your time. And so if you have something that you do over and over again, AI can really help you create a repeatable process or template or an automation. And so AI, some things that it's not good at knowing your business unless you teach it first. It's not good at making judgment calls that need your experience. It can't necessarily guarantee facts, prices, or current info or laws. It can get things wrong, so you have to review it, and it will sound confident even when it's wrong. Yeah. And so it also can't replace real relationships with your customers or hands-on skill, and obviously it can't do physical work either. So, yeah, AI is not a magic genie that can grant all our wishes and know what we're thinking. The best way to think about it is that AI is a highly intelligent, highly qualified, very hardworking administrative assistant who knows nothing about your business. And so then your job is to give it clear instruction to help it understand everything about your business. So the better you get at telling it what you need, then the better it gets at helping you. So by the end of our time today, I want you to walk away with 3 things. A clear sense of what AI is actually useful for in your business. Second, a simple framework for getting better results out of AI. And third, practical ideas that you can use and implement right away in your work this week. So it's not about replacing the human parts of your business, it's about removing some of the friction that keeps you from doing your best work. And you don't have to use AI for everything. You don't have to trust it with everything, but if you learn how to use it for a few those repetitive, time-consuming tasks, it can give you back many hours of your week. And so for small business owners, a few small hours can mean a big difference. And so it could mean faster responses to leads, getting proposals out sooner, which could lead to more jobs, more customers. It could mean finally posting to social media consistently or doing marketing, documenting your processes, creating SOPs. It could also mean less time working late, doing all the busy work, and instead getting to spend more time with family or more time with your team or your customers, or just getting to spend each day doing parts of your business that you actually enjoy. So my encouragement today is simple. Don't approach AI with fear or approach it like magic. Approach it like a tool, and a tool that with the right instruction can help you think clearer, move faster, work smarter, be more efficient and effective, and run your business with a little more breathing room. All right? So, so what is AI? No, anyway, just what is AI? That was So, I'm sure you've all wondered, like, AI is kind of mysterious. Like, how does it know everything? How does it provide such responses that seem so human-like? Or, like, how does it know all this stuff? And so I just wanted to pull back the curtain a little bit on what AI is. And so, it can seem almost like magic, but again, so did electricity in 1880. And so if we understand it, then we can know how it works and how to work with it best. And so the simplest way to describe it is that it's like auto-complete on steroids. And so when you're texting somebody and you say, I'm on my, then the logical next word is way. I'm on my way. And so your phone kind of learns that pattern from your texts. And so now imagine the same thing, but instead of learning from your texts, it learned from the entire internet. And so every book, every article, every post, instruction manual, everything that's out there. And so at the core of it, all these AI tools are just, they're not thinking, they're just predicting, word by word, the most likely next thing to say based on every pattern it's ever seen. So it's kind of like, you can imagine it's kind of like a parrot that heard and remembered everything ever written, and it got really good at just sounding like a human and at mimicking how things work, how explanations work, how the answers are structured, how a confident expert sounds. But it didn't actually understand any of it. It just learned to mimic it, in a sense. And so that's exactly how AI is, and that's why AI can sound totally confident and still be wrong, because it's not necessarily lying to you. It's just pattern matching to what it thinks a confident answer sounds like or looks like, and what it thinks is the probable answer. So that's kind of the difference there. And so under the hood, when you type something in, your words get converted into numbers. Those numbers turn into layers of math, millions of calculations, and then those numbers come back out with words. They get converted into words again. And then that's your answer. And so it's not magic, doesn't have a brain or feelings, it's just really very fast math. And so now, why does that matter to us as business owners? Because in practice, it can't read your mind at all. So if you just type in something really vague, like write me an email, it has no idea who you're emailing, what you want to say, what tone to use. So it just guesses based on all of its training data. And the guess is usually like okay, but it's not great. But if you give it context, who you are, who you're talking to, what you want, your goals and outcomes, now it has something to pattern match against, and the output gets a lot better. So again, think of it like a brand new assistant you just hired. They know nothing about your business. The more you tell them up front, the less time you have to spend fixing stuff later. And so that's what we mean when we talk about prompting. You're not learning to code or anything. You're just learning how to give better instructions. And that's a skill every single one of you already has. If you have employees, subcontractors, a spouse, or children, you give instructions to people on a regular basis. So you got what it takes. So quick myth busters. Myth, it knows the right answers. Reality, it knows the most common answers. Myth, it's always getting smarter in our chat. The reality is it can tend to forget most things when you close the window. Myth, it has opinions. The reality is it just mirrors the opinions most common in its training data. Myth, it's conscious. Reality, it's just a very sophisticated calculator. That's all. So remember ChatGPT and Claude and all the AI tools, they're not geniuses or magic. They're just fast pattern matchers that learn from everything humans ever wrote. So now that you know that, you're already ahead of most people using the tools. And because most people treat it like an 8-ball, hoping it reads their minds and can get them a magical answer. But you're going to treat it like a tool. They just have to know how to operate correctly. So which tool should you use? There's so many out there. You've probably heard of all the names: ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, Perplexity, Manus, GenSpark, DeepSeek, Llama. The list just kind of feels endless. They're essentially all the same, but with different strengths and weaknesses. And you could almost say different personalities because they have different training under the hood. So if you're new to AI or really starting to integrate it, my recommendation is just stick with either ChatGPT or Claude. ChatGPT is probably the most popular and well-known, but Claude has really taken off this year, especially because they are very much building it for knowledge work and designing it, all the tools and everything specifically for that. And so my recommendation for most people, I think, is that Claude, at this point now, might be the best for most people. And so here's just a quick breakdown of some of the strengths and weaknesses of Claude versus ChatGPT. So when it comes to like writing voice and just the way that it produces writing, Claude's Claude's writing just feels more natural out of the box. It just has this way of just sounding, you could say, more human or more natural, where ChatGPT can still tend to sound more corporate or professional, or like too polished. It's definitely gotten better, but especially if you give it examples of your voice, it can match that pretty well. But Claude just has a better way of doing that. When it comes to like voice, if you want to like talk to it, ChatGPT is way better for that. I don't think Claude actually has a voice function where it can talk back to you. ChatGPT has that. Or if you just hit the voice, speech to text, ChatGPT tends to be better for that. But Claude has that function too if you want to talk and just have it type it out for you. So there are other tools for that as well. If you're doing image generation, ChatGPT is incredible for that. Claude, it can do things like visuals where it comes to like diagrams, charts, layouts. It can even do PowerPoint presentations. Spoiler alert, it created these slides. And so you can see it does a really good job. So both are good. If you're just trying to like create or edit images, even ChatGPT or even Gemini, they both do a really good job. So instead of, you don't have to use Photoshop, you just put it in ChatGPT and say, just remove this person, and it does a really good job. So when it comes to quick searches or research, I feel like ChatGPT does a little bit better of a job when it comes to like searching the internet for stuff. So when it comes to like buying decisions and those sorts of things, I usually still use ChatGPT, but Claude still does a great job. So both of them can do a decent at that. I feel like ChatGPT, in a sense, is a little bit better at predicting. Like if you give it vague prompts, it has a better way of figuring out what you really want. So sometimes I'll just take a screenshot of something on Facebook Marketplace and say, hey, is this a good deal? And it'll like somehow be able to like figure out what the picture is and what it is based off the little bit of information it has. And usually says, oh yeah, this is usually, X amount of dollars. That's a good deal, that kind of stuff. So I still use it for that. But Claude is definitely getting there. And even when it comes to like long documents, if you have really long, like super long documents that you need it to like sort through, Claude can do those really well. It has a good way of being able to carry like a long context of things, so like hold a lot of information at one time without getting confused. And then when it comes to like working in your files and folders, Claude wins at this hands down, and I'll show you some demos later on here because it's built for knowledge work and being able to integrate with files and folders in your computer. ChatGPT does have some of that, but it's very technical, at least at this point. And then when it comes to like multi-step jobs, like getting things done, Claude, again, wins out because it's very simple to run automations and create those, where with ChatGPT, again, it has an app, but it's a little more complicated. And so the main thing in all this is the model matters less than what you put into it, because you don't necessarily have to like pick one. I personally still use both and pay for both, and a lot of people I know do the same thing. But you can think of them like tools in a toolbox. You don't always necessarily use one tool for everything, because sometimes I feel like I put the same prompt in both and I get different responses, and sometimes I like Claude's responses, sometimes I like ChatGPT's responses, and I can't get rid of both because of that. But
like having two advisors.
exactly, yeah. And sometimes they'll say, hey, this is what ChatGPT said. What do you think? And then it says, oh, no, that's wrong. This is the thing. So, no. So, but the bottom line is learning how to put the proper ingredients into it ultimately matter more. And so your context, your examples, your instructions, that's what is ultimately going to separate good results from mediocre results. It's not one tool is going to fix everything. It's that the right prompting is going to ultimately help you to get the best results. And so free versus paid, free is fine to learn on, but I definitely think the paid versions are still way better because what they give you is more usage, access to the best models, and when you start to do more like heavy work with it, you'll start to notice the difference between the cheap, like the free models versus the more, the paid models. And so I recommend for anyone that if you're going to use it for work, I 100% recommend spending the $20 a month, because you can think of it, it's just an employee that you're paying $20 a month for that can save you hours every week. And so hopefully by the end of this training, you'll kind of see the value of it. And if you were only going to pick one tool, if I were to only recommend one tool to pay for, I would lean towards Claude because of how much better it is at writing and because of how all the features it's set up for doing knowledge work and working on your computer. And I'll show you that here shortly. So, prompting number one, how do you actually talk to AI? So this might be the most important section of the whole training. I would say this is kind of like the foundational part of the training, because when you know how to talk to it, then obviously you can build off of that. So, most people use simple prompts like write me an email, and the results they get back are generic. And I'm sure we've all felt like the prompts or results we've gotten back just felt generic. They felt like it just didn't match me or my voice or my style. It kind of feels kind of useless then. And so the reality is that the problem isn't necessarily the AI, it's that we didn't give it enough to work with. And so again, think of it like a brand new admin assistant on their first day. You can't expect them to read your mind. And so it's just predicting, giving its best guess based on its training data, what it thinks is a good response. And so it doesn't know your business, your customers, your tone, or what a good result looks like for you. And so, just like if you hired somebody and day one you said, respond to this email for me, they're just going to guess. And the output is going to reflect that. And so AI works the same way. And so the quality of what you get out of AI depends heavily on the quality of what you put into it. If you give it one vague sentence, it will give you a broad, generic answer. If you give it context, examples, a clear goal, a format, then the answer becomes something that you can actually use. So today, I want to give you a simple framework that you can start using right away. And there are a lot of different prompting frameworks out there, so I'll break it down into 6 pieces. Task, context, examples, format, tone, and persona. And to be clear, you don't have to use all 6 every single time, but these are the pieces that usually make the biggest difference. So 2 of them do most of the heavy lifting that I would say are the non-negotiables for every prompt. The rest are helpful additions that can help enrich the prompt and get you closer to your desired output. So one way to think about it is like a burger. You need the patty and the bun. That's the minimum. Everything else, like lettuce, cheese, and sauce, just makes it better. And you can add as much or as little as you want. So number 1 is task. So rule of thumb for task, here we go, is start with an action verb. So pretty simple: write, draft, create, rewrite, summarize, analyze, list, generate, simple stuff like that. Write an email, summarize this document, analyze the spreadsheet. So pretty self-explanatory. Most people, you already use this when you're creating it or prompting it. So the next piece is context. And so context is just as important as task. It kind of surrounds the task like the bun surrounds the burger. And so this is probably the thing that most people miss, and that creates a bad prompt. And so context is just everything AI needs to understand your situation. So for business owners, context can include: what kind of business do you run? Who is your customer? What are you trying to accomplish? What problems are you trying to solve? What constraints or details matter to the situation? What do you or what you don't want to include? And so if you think of it as a brand new employee who knows nothing about your business, AI has no idea what your pricing is, who your typical client is, what your pain points are, unless you tell it. So the more you act like you're briefing a new hire, then the better outputs you're going to get. And so example, week prompt: write a follow-up email to a client.
We're on page 4, by the way. Kind of.
Thanks. So a better prompt would be: I run a residential cleaning company. I gave a quote last Tuesday for a bi-weekly cleaning at $180 a visit. The client has 2 dogs. Mentioned she's had bad experience with other cleaners not showing up. Write a follow-up email that feels warm and reassuring, not pushy. So you can see the difference there, that one is just very basic. The other one is like, oh, it actually has stuff to work with. It knows how to respond. So another quick example, if you were a remodeling company. I run a small remodeling company. A homeowner asked for a bathroom remodel, quote, 2 weeks ago, hasn't responded. I want to follow up without sounding pushy. The goal is to restart the conversation, see if they have any questions about the estimate. Write a short, friendly email. So it's the same basic request, but now AI understands the situation and knows who you are, who the customer is, what happened, what you want, and what to avoid. So context turns AI from a generic writing tool to something that actually feels like a helpful assistant. So if this is the one thing you take away from this training, it will make the biggest difference in the results you get. All right. Number 3 is examples. So these are things that can help to enhance your prompts. And examples are one of the easiest ways to get even better results. Because instead of trying to describe what you want, sometimes it's just easier to tell or show it. So it's kind of like if you're training somebody, usually instead of just telling them, here's the instructions, everything to do, it's so much easier to show them. And so an example is, write a project proposal, structure it like this. You kind of write out the structure. Or you can say, here's a proposal I wrote last year that landed a big job. Paste it in, write a new one for the client using the same format and tone. And so that way, it just goes based off of that format. It learns how you word things. It learns the format, what it looks like, all those things. And so instead of having to describe it all, it can see it, and then it just replicates it. Because again, it's just pattern matching. And so examples help it to produce a similar result. And so same thing can work for emails, contracts, proposals. Just paste it in, say match this, and AI learns very well from examples. Obviously, most of everything it's ever learned was from examples. And so that just helps it learn a lot faster. So examples will definitely help you get better results quicker. Then the 4th piece is format. This isn't always essential, but in a sense, you don't always, instead of just telling AI what result you want, sometimes you want it to deliver it in a very specific way. And so sometimes you ask it, hey, can I have this? And it just delivers it in paragraphs, but you actually wanted it in bullet points. And so it's just an easy way to get the format that you want. So examples of this: put it in a table, give me bullet points, write it as an email, write it as a text, create a checklist, give me 3 versions. All those things will definitely change how it structured it. So if If you ask it, hey, write this in 150 characters or less, it can do that. Or if you say, write it short bullet points or a short text message, it'll change how its output is, and it's more usable then, depending on how you're using that information. And so, so one example, if you have a bunch of messy notes, you can say, turn these messy notes into a client-facing project proposal. Use this format. You write out the format. Or you say, here's all my crazy thoughts that I have. Write it into succinct bullet points that I can just go through. And simple, easy, and so it's not giving you just a random paragraph. It'll format it just the way you want. So then tone, number 5, make it sound like you actually sent it. So tone is how you want the answer to sound. And so obviously a lot of AI output tends to be too polished and too corporate sounding or kind of fake. And so you have to tell it what you want it to sound like. So examples would be warm and conversational, professional, not stiff, confident but not pushy, or plain English, no jargon. And if you can't think of the right words, you can also just describe the feeling. Like, I want to sound professional but not too stiff. Like, I know my stuff but I'm easy to work with. Or write this like I'm talking to a neighbor, not submitting a legal document. So all that stuff, the tone is where you can make the output sound like something that you would actually send. And another helpful thing is to explain to AI what things to avoid. So like avoid phrases like, I hope this email finds you well, or anything that sounds like a formal letter. So that kind of stuff can also be really helpful as well. And so then the last one is persona. This one I probably use the least, but it can still be helpful because this is where you're acting, or you're asking AI to act like a specific type of expert. And so again, if your prompt is already solid, you can potentially skip this, but you can also test it out. And so examples would be like, act as a marketing strategist for a local service business, act as an operations manager, helping me document a process, act as a sales copywriter who understands home service companies, act as a lawyer, write me a contract, act as a experienced real estate agent writing a listing document, or act as a bookkeeper explaining a late fee policy to a client in plain English. So this one is I would say it's a nice to have. If your prompt, again, is already solid, you might not need it. I don't use it that often, but when you're asking for something very specialized, it can help. The way that I would use this most often is when I have AI ask me questions. So I would say such as, act as a branding or marketing expert, ask me questions one by one to help me create a branding or marketing guide for my business. And then it asks you questions like it is that expert. So that's actually really helpful. All right, so let me show you what all of this can look like stacked together. So for this example, like a home builder, they hit a 2-week delay on a client's project because of a lumber delivery issue. They need to send a client update. So a prompt most people might write is, write an email to my client about a delay. And what you get is a generic corporate sounding email that sounds like it came from a company you never heard of. Definitely not your company. So a better prompt would be, I'm a custom home builder. My client is building a $600,000 home, and we just hit a 2-week delay because of a lumber delivery that came in late. It's not our fault, but I still need to own it professionally. Write a client update email that explains the delay clearly, reassures her we're back on track, doesn't make us look incompetent. Keep her professional but warm. Use short paragraphs. She reads everything on her phone. And so then with that, what you get is an email that actually sounds like it came from a human being who cares about the relationship. And obviously, you're going to tweak a word or two. You might have to, give it some feedback and change things, but you're not having to rewrite the whole entire thing then. So the difference between bad prompting and good prompting is you're not just typing a question into Google. You're not having to write the whole entire email. You're briefing the AI the same way you'd brief an administrative assistant if you were telling it to write this email for you. And so there's some people, and it's probably not you, but some people think, isn't this cheating? Isn't this just being lazy? But if you prompt it, like most people, with vague, generic prompts that produce generic outputs, and then just use that, then yes, you are being lazy. But if you use this framework and instruct it like you would instruct an actual employee, and give it really good context, examples, and actually put in the work to put in a good prompt, then you're not just then you're delegating in a sense, like you would to an employee. So the next time you open Claude or ChatGPT, don't think of it as AI. Think of it as a virtual assistant. You get to type to it and speak to it in that way. And so you'll definitely notice a big difference in your outputs as a result. And so initially, it'll produce a good first draft. Your job then is to finalize it, tweak it, and I'll show you some ways that it can actually learn over time and get better at those things.
I got a question.
Sure.
Did you put those two prompts in to see what spit out to show the difference?
You want to see it?
Well, that's all I said. Did you do that? So
Well, I don't run.
the next slide would be
Sure. Well,
what happens when you type in this. This is what happens when you type in that.
okay. Do you want to see it?
Well, I'm just. Did you do that?
I didn't, because I don't run it. So my AI's my AI
suggestion, that would be
knows me very well, but I can.
next slide, that would be. What came out?
Huh?
You keep rolling.
You can go home and try it. You'll see the results that happen.
I strongly recommend that whatever you have questions about, when you get home, try it out. Because it really is true what he's saying. I've done both, generic, and I've fed just, here's what I'm looking for. And then it gets really precise.
So here's where actually this is the example for you to try it out. So this is the starter template that anybody can use. I think in your notes I provided two, I believe, but both are essentially the same thing. And again, you don't need every element, but the more specifically you are, then the more your outputs will align with what you want. And so you can just follow this framework. Your role, your business type. I need you to do this task using action verbs and what you want. Here's the context, who it's for, the situation, relevant details, constraints, and then the output should be formatted as whatever format you want, and then this is what the tone should be, and write out the tone.
And we're still on page 4. All that's right on there, the first starter prompt.
And so here's an example of maybe a pressure washing company wanting to write a follow-up text. I'm a pressure washing business owner. I need you to write a follow-up text message to a customer who got a quote for driveway and house washing last week but hasn't booked yet. Here's the context. This is what the quote was for. They seemed interested but said they needed to think about it. I want to follow up without feeling salesy or pushy. The output should be formatted as a short text message under 5 sentences. The tone should be friendly and low pressure. Here's another example. Say it's a concrete company and they want to redo their homepage, the top of the homepage. You could write it, act as a marketing assistant for a local home service business. I run a small concrete company serving homeowners in Lancaster County, PA. My goal is to get more inquiries for concrete patios and driveways. Most of my customers want a reliable contractor, clear communication, a fair price. They're often worried about contractors who don't show up or do sloppy work. Write a homepage hero section and then kind of list out eyebrow text, headline, subheadline, 3 benefit bullets, call to action. Here is the current text from our website to give you an idea of who we are. Paste that as examples, context. Use a confident, local, trustworthy tone. No hype or cheesy marketing language. Give me 3 different versions. And so you can ask it to write you different versions, and then that helps you to then, be able to see which one's better. And so don't always accept the first prompt or output it gives you. You can have it tweak. I think I put another prompt in there, but you guys can look through it. It's pretty much the same thing, where you ask it to act as a role, persona, tell what kind of business you run, what kind of customers you serve, your goals, the contexts, examples, and then what to create. And then one more example here, landscaping company, creating a proposal. Act as a business consultant, helping me write a simple proposal. I run a small landscaping company. A homeowner wants help redesigning the front yard, new mulch beds, shrubs, low maintenance plants. Turn these notes into a clean client proposal. Paste all the notes. Format. Here's a project summary, scope of work, timeline, investment, new steps, next steps. Here's an example of a previous proposal that shows my style and my format. Paste that in. Use clear professional language, helpful and consultative, not overly formal. So hopefully that gives you some ideas of how that can work. And a way that if you don't even know where to start with these prompts, you're looking at them and you're like, it seems like a lot of things to fill out. You can also ask AI to help you build the prompt. So ask AI to interview you first. So instead of trying to craft the perfect prompt, you just tell it what you're trying to accomplish and then let it ask you the questions. And so here's what I call the meta prompt is I want to use AI to help me with, write out the task. It also helps if you write out what you want the outcome to be too. Before writing anything, ask me at least 5 questions that would help you produce a better result. After I answer, write the best possible response and create a reusable prompt template I can use again in the future. And so one example would be, I want to use AI to help me write better follow-up leads, emails to leads. Before writing anything, ask me at least 5 questions about my business, my customer, my tone, offer, sales process. Create a reusable prompt template I can use every time. So when you don't know how to prompt, ask AI to ask you questions, and it'll come up with a better response as a result. And another bonus tip, even if you do use the framework and use the template that I provided you, this has been super helpful for me, a clarifying questions add-on, you could say, where at the end of your prompt, you always put, ask clarifying questions until you're 95% sure you can complete the task successfully. And paste this, if you paste this at the end of any prompt, it will always ask you questions. Like for me, I've started doing this, and it's always made my outputs a lot better because you'll ask questions about things that I either missed or didn't even think about. And so if you start using this add-on to all of your prompts, it will immediately improve the quality of your outputs. So just a few quick tips on prompting. More context is always better, so when in doubt, add more. Examples can save you time, so paste things you already love that already work for you. AI can use that as templates. If you're uncertain, have AI ask you questions. Use the meta prompt, ask the clarifying question prompt. And you can use speech to text. So if you press the microphone icon and then just talk, it saves a ton of time because you can just pretty much ramble, share all your thoughts, and it can pull it all together. Just be sure you always end it with clarity on what you actually want rather than just rambling. And then when it comes to mistakes to avoid, don't be vague. More details, the better. Don't expect perfection on the first try. Even great prompts can need 1 or 2 rounds of refinement, and that's normal. And don't always accept the first answer it gives you because AI can either sound too formal or it can be wrong. So always review it and refine it before you send it. And so, quick exercise here for you guys to try. And I guess we'll be coming into our break here soon, right?
We'll take questions.
Sure. So yeah, you guys can practice it if you pull out your phone, and if you have either ChatGPT or Claude, both can work. Try to think of one task in your business that you do repeatedly, like whether that's inquiries, following up with leads, estimates, creating social media posts, summarizing meetings, writing proposals. So I want you to run through this kind of walk through this prompt, or try it out, or you can just write, and try it at home. Sorry, just got a little cut off there. But the first 5 are probably the most important. So just think of this, filling out these things. I run what your business is. I need help with the task. This is also in your notes as well if you want to follow there. My customer audience is who they are. My goal is write the outcome you want, and then the important context. Format it as whatever format you want, and then what tone you want. And so again, you don't always need format and tone. It can usually do a good job of figuring that out. So the first 5 is kind of the most important there. And so to wrap up this section, and then we'll jump into some Q&A. So now that you know how to talk to AI. Yeah. So we know how to talk to AI now, prompting. But there's a problem that I haven't told you about yet. Every time you open a new chat, AI pretty much has no idea who you are. And so you pretty much have to explain yourself every single time, use that whole prompt. And so it can get kind of old having to re-explain your business, your customers, your offer, your tone, every single time you open it. And so good news is there's a solution for that. It's called projects. And so using the prompting framework helps you to get good outputs during each conversation, but projects can help you give AI persistent context so that it already understands your business every time you open it. And so inside a project, you can store everything of your business, like your description, your services, ideal customer, your brand voice, examples, SOPs, documents, so that instead of starting from scratch every time, it already knows who you are. And so once
Where do you do that?
Well,
where do you do that?
That after the break.
Okay. Keep you in suspense. So, I want to plug in here, and you can take a question.
So any questions so far? Yep.
Would now be a good time to mention not putting any personal data in?
Sure, yeah. So that's privacy and all that stuff is definitely a concern. When it comes to using chat, obviously you're uploading sensitive information to the cloud. I'm going to show you how to use Claude on your desktop, that it can work with your files on your computer, but it doesn't actually upload them to the cloud, and so it's more secure. But at the end of the day, everyone has to decide where they stand on that, because if you're using Facebook, if you're using Google, Instagram, they have so much data on you already, and so it's up to everyone personally how secure or private you want to be. And so I use Claude a lot for things that might have some personal or sensitive information, but I use it more on the CoWork side, which I'll show in a minute. Because if somebody logs into your account, they wouldn't be able to actually see it because it's on your computer. But anyway, so that is personal. Yep.
Do you use any, you pay for a couple of the AI services, do you pay for anything to protect your person? What I've heard is if you have a name and an email address, you get everything. Is there anybody you use to protect that kind of stuff? Your personal data, is there any service?
Oh, I currently don't, no.
Okay.
Yep.
Will we have time or opportunity to talk about what we define as like the moral side of AI, its long-term effect?
That's maybe a little outside of the scope of this training, but
Well, we can address it. We can address it because that even come up earlier with another person, so I think we will address that. Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I greatly appreciate the information. I don't want it to sound like
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
For sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
Did you use AI for your lesson plan?
I did, yes. But I still did spend at least over 20 hours preparing it, so I didn't just put it in and then it spit out.
And then I went and formatted it with bullet points where they normally are and things like that, because chat doesn't do a good job of formatting like normal documents. I mean, it does a good job, but not a great job. So,
The difference between the notes and the slides are exceptional. That was first rate there. This is also.
Mhm.
Thanks.
yeah. But anyhow, one more.
His original question, could he submit that to AI as how to best protect my?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you prompt AI and ask, it definitely will recommend don't input any sensitive information into the any AI chats. So,
However, don't be fear-based. You know what I mean? Because anything you do by fear, you're going to invite the enemy. Do it by wisdom, not fear. Yeah, Jeremy, and then we'll go back to Rob. Okay.
I think that's technically my point, because I literally just wrote down 13 different businesses that you said AI is not going to change, but I literally just wrote down 13 of them that you just in your current presentation eliminated. So what I'm trying to figure out is how do I not walk in fear? Essentially, multiple of those businesses are ones that I'm doing myself right now for other people.
Sure.
Right. So AI is literally taking my job.
yeah.
So the reality of it is how do I walk in the spirit
Yeah.
and not in fear
Absolutely.
based on what you're presenting?
Yeah.
Because it's just the reality.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the truth is, coding. A lot of people are coding. People are losing their jobs. Like, I'm sure. Like, yeah, people. When it comes to branding, social media marketing, like a lot of that kind of stuff, or graphic designers, are certainly, AI is taking over a lot of those things. And so there is the reality that AI kind of replaces a lot of things, just like a lot of farmers lost their jobs when the tractor came out. And so it's creating a shift in the market, absolutely. And so every large technological shift always creates a shift in the marketplace, but it also creates new opportunities. And so there's always going to be a need for experts, so people who are at the top of their field, because obviously AI is a tool that makes things accessible to the everyman. The fact that I was able to create these slides very quickly. Oh wait, that's not the way that I was able to create the slides quickly. Would have if I paid a designer or somebody to do that, like, obviously. But now I was able to do it quickly, so it gives a lot more freedom to a lot more people. But I think there's going to be more opportunities that there's still needs to be a human touch in a lot of areas, and there still needs to be experts in a lot of different fields. And so I can't say there's a remarkable answer for that's going to solve everything, but each technological shift always causes loss of one thing but the birth of another. And so I think the way I look at it is that just find the ways of what new opportunities are there, and how can we plug into those new opportunities.
And I think it's important to keep in mind, we have the mind of Christ. And I'll always bring that up as long as I'm with you. We have the mind of Christ, who's superior to any AI or anything else. But we live in a practical, natural world, and we're going to lose some businesses. There's no question about it. Even virtual assistants are now losing some jobs, unless they're using AI to help them to be a better virtual assistant. So we need to get creative in the whole process. But I want to, before we break, I lost it.
Sorry, Rob.
That's right.
Okay, Rob, go ahead.
Well, I just had a question. What in your photography business? What's your most common use for AI, and what are some of the more unusual? And I bring this up because it seems like so many people kind of concentrate on the very basics, like, hey, this can write an email for you. But then you even mentioned on Facebook Marketplace, you can copy an image and say, is this a good deal?
Yeah.
I mean, those are pretty radically different. How do you kind of use it day to day?
Sure.
From business standpoint.
Yeah, and I'll show an example that so we do use it for our inquiry responses. We have it draft us responses, and so that saves maybe for each response we're talking 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you add up how many responses or inquiries we get every week, like that adds up to an hour, 1 or 2 hours. And so I'm still building out. In a sense, I'm trying to replace myself in our business, and so I'm trying to build out different things. And so some more advanced use cases you could say is that we have a editor that edits, but a lot of people are using AI to edit now, which it does a good job because
And when
obviously.
you say edit text or image?
Sorry, edit images, yeah.
Okay.
So it can edit images as well. But we still pay somebody to edit our images because our editing style is a little more complex. And so, but when he sends stuff back through like a Google Sheet, we can have it so that it sees when he updates it. It can download it automatically. And then with Claude on the desktop, I still have to build this out. But I'm going to build it out so that it actually will like open it, relink our files in Lightroom, and then prep it for my wife to be able to edit. So all that kind of stuff it's able to do. But I use it now a lot of times. Like I've built, use it. I used to build websites on WordPress. Now I just have AI build sites for me. And they're still a little simple, but it saves a lot of time. I have it do research for me. I've actually had it control my computer screen when I was trying to go through a lot of different like Google searches for different things and pull data. I was able to have it write a script for me that actually like automatically put in the thing, grab the information, then put the next one in, and then kept going. So
Great.
saved me hours.
What platform are you using?
I tried ChatGPT.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, well, once we get into projects, and then even after that, I'll show you Claude CoWork. You'll kind of see how it can,
Yeah.
the more it can do in a business.
Okay. For Jeff.
Oh.
So write an email about a delay. Generic. Hello, I wanted to give you an update on the project. We've experienced a delay and things are taking longer than expected. We're working on resolving the issue and hope to get things back on track soon. Thank you for your patience and understanding. We appreciate your support and we'll keep you updated. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? But it's pretty generic. Well, whatever, but I mean, it's informational and, and that's the way some people actually talk, though. You have to understand this isn't like all just machines. Some people are just vague in their conversation. So, So here's a better prompt. I'm a custom home builder. My client is building a 600K home, and we hit a 2-week delay because the lumber came in late. Write a clear client update that owns the issue professionally, reassures her we are back on track, and uses a short, phone-friendly paragraphs. Result. I don't know what. Can you see that so I don't have to read it? Oh, okay. Okay, it's a little small. Okay, I want to give you a quick, hello, or hi, Susie. I wanted to give you a quick update on your home project and keep you informed. We've experienced a 2-week delay because our lumber delivery came in later than we expected. While some factors were outside of our control, I take responsibility for keeping the project moving and communicating clearly with you through the process. The good news is the materials are now in, and our team is back in motion. We have adjusted scheduling and coordinated with our crews so we can regain momentum and keep things progressing as efficiently as possible. I know building a home is a major investment and a journey, and I understand delays can be frustrating. I want you to know we are focused on the project and are committed to delivering the quality home you expect. I'll continue keeping you updated as we move forward. Please reach out anytime if you have questions. Thank you for your patience and trust. Big, big difference. Do you trust number one or you trust number two? Yeah. So give it more information than not enough. And keep in mind, it's a tool. It doesn't have a conscience. Understand. It simply is providing you information based on the information you're giving it. It's connecting dots. One or two more questions before we break.
I just have a comment. What you said about the ask clarifying questions thing, I love that. I use that a lot. I like to say, because when I get all 5 questions, I'm like, so I have it ask me one question at a time until it's 95% confident, and that's like game changer. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And do you use Claude or ChatGPT? GPT.
Both.
Yeah. So one thing Claude, well, sometimes Claude does this is when you ask it to ask you clarifying questions, it'll just pop up at the bottom with one question, and then it almost like gives you 3 potential answers, and then your own space to fill in the blank. And so sometimes they'll say like, how do you want this formatted? And it'll give you some options. You're like, oh, I didn't think about that. You click on it, and it'll say, what kind of tone do you want? And you're like, oh, okay. And then you just click on it. And so, yeah, that's super helpful. It's been a game changer for sure.
And just a comment, I use Claude mostly chat I do. For my emails, I take a lot of notes, and I'll upload my notes, put it right in there, and I'll improve it, and it gives me a better flow and so on. But it still doesn't know me. It doesn't know my heartbeat. So if I don't put my heartbeat back in it, it'll sound generic. Because that person knows me, my voice. You understand? So you be careful, because it can sound really generic if you're not careful when you're shooting out an email to somebody they thought they were listening to you. Now you're giving them chat. So you have to be the person. Chat can't do that.
Some of
Good.
that's changing, though, I think. 'Cause
It
even
is.
with- I'm using ChatGPT, and I'm not familiar with projects, but I'll start new threads, and it'll say, well, since you're a writer of Christian young adult novels,
Yeah.
you probably want, and I'm like, well, I didn't
Yeah.
mention that recently. and it keeps bringing stuff back from the past, where it's like, well, you might want to consider, and I'm like, well, that's actually kind of helpful for it to know me.
Sure.
But I'm amazed that it keeps referencing things
Yeah.
that I've mentioned multiple threads before that
Yeah.
I thought were unrelated.
For sure. So now it does reference threads. It will like remember key information. So if there's something that you've pasted or put in several different prompts, it'll remember stuff like that. Or it's designed now that it remembers key information, that if you say something like, I'm a writer or I'm a wedding photographer, it'll like remember that stuff and kind of save it in a memory bank. So projects just kind of takes it the next step further, where like you actually like will say remember these things and be able to add it all.
And is remembering the actual, or it's still comparing data? Would that be accurate?
It's just pulling. It saves it in a memory bank
Yeah.
of like what to pull from. Yep.
Yeah.
Is anybody using Grok?
Occasionally, Grok, Grok. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I did an ad just following you. I was just doing an ad for my consulting center.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, any tool, like at the end of the day, you kind of figure out which tool you feel works best for you, and play around, test them all. But yeah, I mainly work more now on the desktop apps, and so that's why I use Claude, and ChatGPT has what's called Codex that does like coding and stuff like that. So those are the two I use.
And Grok, if you use the voice option, it'll talk back to you. So it's kind of an interesting conversation, but it can get annoying too, because it might ramble on about stuff you don't even care about. So one more question. We'll take a break. Are we good? All right. Okay, Jonathan, then we're breaking.
Is there a way you can connect your ChatGPT in your email so that you don't have to copy and paste?
Oh yeah, there is, and I will demo that here shortly. Yep.
And before I forget this, I want to share what I've used it for. Of course, I got sinus surgery and all that, and I was getting my reports back. I didn't understand them, so I uploaded my report to Chat. Talk to me about these results in terms I can understand. And it was amazing. And then it even went as far as giving me, here's 3 questions to ask your ENT when you go back. And I really liked that. So now I didn't put my name on the report. But you can get a lot of good information if you learn to use the tool right. Go for it.
Awesome. So I have a lot left to get through in this hour, so I might move a little faster. So I just wanted to let you guys know that at the end, on the last page, there is a website link. I created a website for this training that will include like the slides, the handout, and also a replay of the video. I'll upload that either later today or early next week. So if there's anything you want to go back and revisit, you can always go there. And so it's my business, catalystaisolutions.com/Kren. If it doesn't work for you, it might need to be lowercase, the CREN. I'm not sure.
Page 11.
Okay, there you go. All right, page 11. Second to last page. And then my email, if you want to get in contact me as well. So,
Thank you.
huh?
What's your own business?
So I'm building it right now. It's still, the website's still pretty basic, but pretty much this, helping businesses implement AI with different solutions. And so whether that's consulting or I built like a few things which I'll show an example here. But yeah, just in case if you're like, oh, I want that slide, you can always get the slides from there as well. All right, so projects. So now that you know the basics of prompting, so prompting helps you get better results in each conversation. Projects now helps AI understand your business over time. And so every new chat, in a sense, can feel like you're starting from zero, where you're re-explaining your business, your customers, your offer, everything. But projects help. What projects basically are like a workspace or a folder inside of ChatGPT or Claude. And in that workspace, you can put any related chats, instructions, and files so that instead of starting from zero, it already has a starting point. So you just set it up once. You load it with all the information about who you are, what you do, who your customers are, and how you talk. And then every chat you start within the project, AI already has all that context. So you're not re-explaining yourself every single time, and you don't then end up getting generic answers. And so, in a sense, let me see, So prompting in the chat is almost like hiring a brand new VA every single morning and briefing them from scratch every single time, whereas building projects is like onboarding a VA one time and teaching them everything. And then, for the next couple of years, you can just tell them, hey, write me a follow-up email, and they'll already know everything they need to know. And so prompting is still important, but if you use AI for your business regularly, I would say this is like the next level. So prompting is like level 1, projects is like level 2. And so, a good prompt, in a sense, is like, here's what I want right now. A good project says, here's who I am, who I serve, what I sell, how I talk, and what good work looks like, all already kind of like built in. So instead of having to explain all those things every single time, you explain them once, and then AI remembers it the next time. And so here are some examples of things that you can put inside of a project. Business overview, name, service, location, idea, customers, what makes you different, your offers, your pricing, your brand voice, your customer journey, how customers inquire, book, buy, schedule, pay up, follow up. Good examples, you can put in your emails, proposals, social media posts, website copy, reviews, and then your processes and SOPs, how you handle inquiries, estimates, onboarding, all that stuff. And so anything you find yourself having to explain to AI more than once probably belongs in a project. So how do you start with projects? Well, the best way to start is let AI interview you. That way you don't have to do all the work. You open a new chat and you just type in a prompt like this. I want you to build a context document about my business so you can help me write content, emails, and proposals that sound like me. Ask me 15 questions, one at a time, that will give you everything you need to know about my business, my customers, my voice, and how I communicate. After I answer, summarize everything into a clear business context document I can save inside ChatGPT or Claude project. And then let me see. And sometimes it's useful to use this different project for different aspects of your business, like one for writing or maybe one for, document processing. And so let me show you a quick demo. And in your handout, I believe I included like 2 or 3 prompts that you can try. So another one is, so you can try whichever one you feel like works best for you. They all kind of get you the same thing. And so I also, on the website, I have all these prompts where you can just go on the site and there's a copy button. You hit copy and then you can just paste it right into Claude or ChatGPT. So here, let me pull up my ChatGPT or Claude. Guess I should have prepped this.
This is a pay level AI, I imagine.
No, so Projects is available in the free version, so you can try them out. There's some limitations to it, but you can try it out, and so it definitely will help. And so the most helpful thing when you are, there we go. Oh, there you go. ChatGPT right there. So we're in a new chat. And so if I paste, where's that prompt? Here we go. Just as an example. That looks funny, but we'll see what happens.
I was thinking you should say math calculating.
Right, exactly.
Just sourcing it.
All right. All right. So it's asking me one at a time. So, so what it can do? Oh yeah. So sometimes what you can either have it do one at a time, or you can have it do it all at once. But so you can see what. So business name, what you sell, what you offer. So when you're creating this document, what I find is helpful is if you just use that right there, then you can just click it and then just talk to it, and then you can just answer questions one at a time. So, okay. So I'll just show you an example. Is it easy? Okay. All right. So my business name is Golden Co Photography. We are a wedding photography business. We serve brides and grooms in the Lancaster County area. And then there you go. And so, you know, it's kind of like an interview. You're just answering the questions. I guess I should have had it not do it one at a time so I could show you all of them. But anyway, it's taken a long time to think for some reason. So anyway, so you can see it's just asking you kind of all those detail, in-depth questions.
Can you do the voice option where you just speak to it?
Oh, like where it's talking back to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. So I don't always use, so you can use this where it actually will talk to you and then you respond to it. I don't personally use it just because I feel like if I don't speak, like if you take a pause, it'll jump in. And so I like to like talk for a little bit, think for a little bit, and so I feel the pressure. But if you like, but it can be helpful for sure. So if you're driving, sometimes I'll put it on and I'll talk to it. So, you know, that can be helpful. But anyway, so you kind of get the gist. So it'll like ask you all these questions. For the sake of time, I'm just going to keep moving. But that's kind of what, let me see. Yeah. There we go. So try that out, and then let me show you how now to create projects. Okay, well, I guess I just closed that. Whoops. All right, so back to Claude, ChatGPT, I mean. So both, you can do it in both, but so when you create that document, so whatever it creates for you, or if it's in a chat, so say I am done with this, what you can do now is over here, projects. You can see I have projects. I created one for the business training, obviously. But you can see like I had several different chats there for different sections as I was doing research, as I was kind of bringing my thoughts together. And so it has context now from all the different chats. I told it once, this is what I'm doing. This is who I'm creating it for. My audience, this is what I want it to sound, what I want it to feel. And then every time I would paste a new chat in there, it would know. So you would just hit new projects, say I, just type it, If I just do, so, okay. So Golden Co Photography, that's the business my wife and I run together. And so if I did that, I can now, under this, move to project, Golden Co. So now it's in there. And so what you do is you run this prompt, have it ask you a bunch of questions, and then it should then have a good context starting point. But you want to take it a step further, and if you hit sources, here now you can hit add sources, you can upload files. So here you want to upload files of like your SOP documents, your website text, anything that you feel like is helpful to give it context. So if you have any documents whatsoever, you can upload it there, and then it'll learn based of all that stuff. And so when you, you can connect it to Google Drive, different things, or you can just like paste text inputs like, hey, here's something I want you to know about me. Or even if you have like emails, like here's how I typically respond to inquiries, emails, that kind of stuff. You can paste it all into there. And so,
is there a size document limit? So what can go in, like I have a website that's, like I just have it sitting online and CSV or whatever. Can you upload that?
you can try. I mean, I'm not sure what the size limit is, but you can always give it a shot. Yeah, so I mean, websites is usually pretty, like HTML, like sites are made to load fast, so they're usually small files. Images honestly take up more space, and so you should, in theory, be able to. Yeah, and so you can always put in your text and everything like that. So the goal then here is that you add everything in here, so like all the context that you would have done in prompting, you in a sense do it ahead of time. And so then in projects now, you start a new chat here. I lost my mouse. So that you start a new chat here. So you don't go to just the brand new chat here, because this is starting from scratch every single time. If you go to here, new project, I click on that and start a new chat here, now it has all that previous context of all the documents that you've included. And so now you're able to give it vague prompts like write an email, but it already knows all the context. Obviously, if you're writing an email, include email for that specific context is still helpful. But if you're saying like, write me a social media post for a promotional we're running this summer, it has all that information already. And so this kind of takes it to the next level where now the more you feed it, the more you add to it, the more you use it, it actually gets smarter over time because it learns more and then it becomes more responsive. Or even if you like it produced a result for you, an output that you didn't like, you can give it feedback and then it remembers that and then has a different output than later. And so let me jump back here. You can also add custom instructions to it somewhere, depending, I forget where, I think.
It's in the rename project, right? Isn't there a spot for instructions in there?
Oh, right there, yeah. So instructions. So right here you can tell it specific instructions, like I can tell it you act as an assistant for our business Golden Co Photography, or you can tell it like if there's certain things you want it to act a certain way, or if you want it to always respond in Spanish, stuff like that. You can add those things specifically there. And so Claude would be pretty similar, I believe. Let me see if I can find it. Is that showing up? Oh. Maybe I need to log into Claude here. I use Claude on desktop, so I might have to sign in here. No, there we go. So, yeah, Claude has projects there on the side. You can see I added that there, so you would just do the same thing. New project, name it, what are you trying to achieve? You can describe some stuff. And then when you're in the projects, you can see here, all the previous chats that I would have had with it, and then here you can add specific memory, specific instructions, and then upload files to it here. And then the key is you always want to work within the project so that it keeps building more context and always pulls from that information and the files that you used. So this kind of helps you to go to the next level because, you don't have to. There we go. So then, from here, then you can just say things like, check what's on my calendar for the week or the latest email that I got. Oh, so now to take this even further, what you can do is add what's called connectors. So you were saying, can it view my... So if you go here, connectors, now you can connect it to your Gmail, to your calendar, to your Drive, to your CRM. And so I can now just tell it, once you can see I added, let me see if I have that chat here.
At that stage, if you connect it, doesn't it start looking at private information?
That'd be more private.
See, that was what you said, not to give it private information.
So what I said is, it's up to you how much information you want to give it. So I'm not going to tell you. You can decide. For me, I'm using it as a productivity tool. They're just using it for training data. Claude, I know Claude is very big on security and privacy. I'm not sure about ChatGPT as much, but I know Anthropic, really, the company that owns Claude, they're very strict about security. So I personally don't feel like my data is going to be used against me, but everybody has to decide what level they're comfortable with. And so if you're not comfortable with it, that's totally fine. I'm just showing you what it can do if you want to use it. And so here I have it connected to our Google Calendar, and I said, what's the next wedding I have coming up? Where is it located? So you can see, for example, we have a wedding tomorrow that we're shooting at Smoker Farm Weddings, and then after that we have one on May 23rd. And
What would be your reason for having to go there to find that when you just have a calendar and you see that?
So this is a very, very basic and simple example. One example would be like, for our wedding photography, I needed to calculate all my mileage, and I was lazy and didn't do that throughout the year. So I just said, hey, Claude, can you go through 2025, find any time we would have gone to a wedding, a photo shoot, or a meeting, create a spreadsheet of that, write out the location we went to, the description, what it was, a wedding, an engagement shoot, and then and then ask me for each location the mileage, because I'm not sure if it could calculate the mileage. And then, so I already had a spreadsheet from the previous year for how long it took, how much the mileage was. It referenced that. So any ones that it didn't know, it then said, okay, this is a new location you haven't been to yet. What's the mileage here? I just looked on Google Maps, gave it all the information, and then it spit out a spreadsheet that had all the mileage that we ever had for 2025. So that's one use case for that.
And if you are like me and you can't find files, you can't find documents, when this is set up, it'll help you find where they're located. Are you going to cover that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So both ChatGPT and Claude call it projects. And so, once you start using projects and integrations, this is where it really starts to save more time in your work, because you can actually give it instructions and it can actually go doing stuff for you. And in this, I'll show you an example of how I use it in our emails as well when I talk about the next level up. But so the more you use it, the more you can kind of test what it can do, and the more then you can feel like you can delegate things to it. So the more obviously you add to the projects, then the more it'll learn about you, about your preferences, and then it can start to do more automated, in a sense, tasks for you. And so they do have this available in the free tier, so anybody can try it out. I think there are some limitations to it, but definitely give it a try and start to add all the documents to it, and then just test it, see what it can do, if you see what it can do for you. And again, whatever you're comfortable with connecting to it, under connectors, you would just hit manage connections, and then you can add stuff to it. Another example here, when we get someone signs our contract, we like to add that to Monday.com, which is our, we use as CRM, to manage all of our weddings. And so we have it set up so that when we get the contract signed, then it'll take all that information and then add a line into Monday.com, so we don't have to do that manually. So it can help to, anything that you find yourself manually doing repetitive things, it can help with that kind of stuff.
And you're referring to Google Drive has a lot of my files. Rob, you were saying about you couldn't find your files. Do you have to upload those files to that and then ask it a question?
So yeah, if you connected it to Google Drive, you can then say, hey, search my Google Drive files, and then find me this document, or where is there a document where, for this customer, or is there a document that I had done X, Y, and Z thing for? And so, yeah, it can definitely help. Or you can say, hey, can you help me summarize, or if you have a lot of email back and forth with a certain customer and they change their mind a lot and you're confused at where it is, you can just say, hey, can you look through these emails, kind of summarize where the conversation has led to and where's it at right now, and it can do that for you as well.
So how do you connect to your desktop or your different files, your emails? How do you do that? Are you covering that soon?
Yep. So then
That's what he's
He just did that.
You gotta
Yeah, I was
exit
saying
on
that's
it.
what you just
He's
showed
sitting
us
over
that.
there.
I showed you how to do it on Google Drive and that kind of stuff, but the next level up, level 3, is how about your desktop? How do you actually get it to work on your computer? And so I'll try to go through this quickly with the time we have left, but let me see, where are we at?
Just to make sure I'm understanding, if you connect it to your email though, all of your clients' information, their contract, their website, their address, their cell phone, all of that information is in the open. Is that correct?
It probably is anyway. They have it all already.
It's in Google.
That's Google's got that. You're right. It's already built in.
So
An email, it's already somewhere.
Okay, so I have a question. Can you put limits on what is visible? Do not show,
So in other words,
social security numbers or something like
well,
that.
you're not collecting social, let me give you a practical reality is I have a Google Drive to an IP of a client that has not been launched yet, and 90% of what I photograph is not allowed to be seen on the web until if the client releases it. But if it's all sitting on my drive and it's all connected to chat or Claude, how is that not then, couldn't they come back and say, oh, that so-and-so found this IP and started using it?
Well, so in theory, all your chats are private, so people nobody on the web can access them.
Okay. But if my client sent me the information for me to review and build a script for, essentially, then they've already put it on the internet.
Yeah, if you've emailed it, Google is email is public, but also private. So it's similar. Yeah, it's as far as the security and data. Again, it's whatever you feel comfortable with. I'll show you here now. Claude CoWork, which actually works natively on your files on your computer, and so it's not uploading it anywhere to the cloud. It's on your computer. And so, again, projects helps you build persistent context, and so then the next level would be using Claude CoWork in the Claude desktop app. And so you need so for CoWork, you do need a paid subscription to access it because you download the app. And so There might be a way that I think they're starting to roll out, like you can do a trial for a week if you want to try it. But you can think of it like this. Chat answers your question. Projects remembers your context. CoWork actually works inside of your files and tools to help you complete the job. And so CoWork takes it to the next level because it actually has access to the files on your computer, but it only has access to the files that you actually give it specific permission. And you pretty much give it access to a specific folder and then anything within that folder. It can edit, it can read, it can create documents all on its own. And so this can be especially useful when you're working on more sensitive data, or wanting it to work on your documents, whether it's like folders, templates, drafts, reports, notes. If you have lots of documents, you can upload only 20 documents to the chat windows, whereas CoWork, it can view an infinite amount of documents, pretty much. You can just have a ton of documents in a folder, and it'll pull all of those for you, or be able to work on all of them. And so with this, with CoWork, you kind of brief it like an employee, and with outcome-based instructions. So you can say things like, I have a folder full of receipts, create an expense report. I have a messy transcript, turn it into client summary and follow-up tasks. You can say stuff like, go into my downloads, sort all my files by type, rename consistently, and write a summary. Stuff like that. Or you can say, I have an inquiry, extract the details to my sales spreadsheet, draft a reply. Or you can say, I have a bunch of notes right here, turn them into a proposal. Or find any inquiries that never got a reply this week and draft a follow-up. So now I'll just quick show you how to set up CoWork.
Can I make a quick comment?
Sure.
CoWork is not showing up on phone or iPad, so it's a desktop tool.
Yep, so CoWork is a desktop-only tool. You have to download it on your computer. And so when you pay for it, then you have access to the Claude app on your desktop. Let me see if I can pull it up here. So this kind of just gives you an idea. Like on my desktop, what I did was I created a folder called CoWork, and in that folder, I created 4 other folders. An About Me folder that I can put in context, outputs where it saves finished work, templates where I can include like reusable templates, and then current projects that I would work on. So that's just one way of kind of giving it some guardrails or kind of creating a structure. And then within there, I kind of created some documents. And so there's some information on the handout, but also on the website. I have a link to a article that is really helpful that kind of walks you through step by step how to set this up. It's a little involved, and I don't have the time to go through it all right now, but if you go to that link, it'll help you to set it up. So if on the page 11, the second to last page, you'll see a link that catalystaisolutions.com/CREN for CREN. So I'll show you a quick example of how I used CoWork. Let me see if I can, might have to exit that. So this is what Claude desktop app looks like. You can see there's chat, CoWork, and code. And so it comes with all 3. And so you can see chat is the same of what was online, but CoWork has, it has a few other options. It also has projects, but what this does is now you can see, I don't know if over here on the right side, CoWork, or it's, if I start a new task, I pointed it to this specific folder. And then you prompt it from here. And so here's kind of the power of what it can do. So you can see I pasted this prompt. I need help with writing inquiries in my inbox for our wedding business. I pasted screenshots of what inquiries look like when they arrive in our inbox. So I put 2 images, and then how we typically respond to them. So I pasted, you can see 2 images. One was what the inquiry looks like, and then the second one is how I typically format the email that we send back. So these emails are always titled wedding inquiry when they come in. We extract these key details, such as the bride's first name, date, venue, and then include the same script each time. So I asked it, can you look back through the past month of inquiry emails, create a template that you would follow so that when new inquiries land in our inbox, you'd be able to create a draft exactly how we would write it. There are many replies in the email threads. Just the first 2 emails in the thread is all you need to look at right now to get the information on the inquiry and our response. And then I said, ask clarifying questions until you're 95% sure that you can complete the task. And so you can see here, it asked me all these questions. How should I gather? I said, search Gmail. What format do you want the final template in? And so I said, write a draft reply right in the email thread. When a new inquiry replies, what should I do? I said, yeah, draft an email. Does the script ever change? And I said, yes, based on the date. And it gave me a lot of these options too. So before, and then asked me a couple more questions. So it said, how should I determine if the requested wedding date is available? So I said, check our calendar to see if we already have an existing event. And I gave it some more context, like if it's a wedding in the title or has a couple's name, like Kayla and Anthony. And then I said, what URL should the pricing guide hyperlink to? We have a pricing guide, so I said, grab it from past replies, which inbox to search, and then run this. It says, do you want to run it just now, or do you want it as an automation to run? And so I just told it to just build a template, run it now. And so it kind of just created a plan, said, here's the step-by-step plan it's going to do. And then I said, signed off. I said, yep, good, sounds good. And so here's what it did. It did research. It found the calendar. It read back through emails and created its own template. And then, so you can see over here, it created its own set of instructions, wedding inquiry reply template. So it actually created this whole document here. It created on its own. That's pretty much like an SOP on how to respond to emails. And so it figured out, here's all the information you need. Just use it as this. It created its own, naming structure. And then it wrote instructions on how to check whether we're available or booked. It even had response variations, like how do we respond when we're available, and then how do we respond when we're booked. So it actually pulled those too. And then even like if somebody doesn't give us a date or a venue, then how do we respond to that? And so it pulled all those. And this literally only took me like 5 or 10 minutes to do. And I had set up an automation before using automation tools that took me like hours to do. And this did it all in like 10 minutes. And then it, added the, everything pretty much it needed to do it all. It's all in there. So it went through and found, all right, we have one that's in the inbox right now. Do you want me to draft a reply? So I said yes. And so it searched and said, found the date's actually booked. So variant B applies. We already have Lauren and Tommy's wedding there. And so it wrote a reply. Thank you for your inquiry. Congratulations on your engagement. Unfortunately, we already have a wedding booked on your date. Best of luck in your search for a photographer. And there you go. And so it added it directly to the reply, then in Gmail. So I was able to just go in Gmail. I told it to draft it. It did it right in the email inbox. I was able, then my wife, I actually did this earlier in the day. My wife was able to go on and say, somebody already wrote a reply for me, and then just hit send. And so there you go. And so this used to take me, I used to always do the replies. It would take me like 5 to 10 minutes each time because I had to go in, check if we're available, draft a reply, copy and paste the person's first name, put it here, their date, put it there, their venue, put it there, add, some nice things. But now this does it all. And, we get, 10 to 20 inquiries per week. And so you're talking about like over time that ends up saving me like at least potentially 2 or 3 hours a week in these replies. Yep.
That's a good question. When you upload images, can it read the text in an image?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see.
So if you had a PDF or something, you could
It can
upload
still
it.
read.
Yeah, well, see this was a screenshot right here. So it's a PNG, and it read all that text. Yep.
No, if it's a PDF, in other words, it is a photo.
Yeah.
Can it read the images in a photo?
Yes.
Like the text in a photo.
Text in a photo?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a
You
PNG.
can't, normally, nobody can change, like with a PDF, you can't change anything, it's like, it is what it is.
Oh, you can with Adobe's PDF viewer. You can actually now change
Yes, you
text.
can, but what I mean in general, once it's a PDF, like if you're in Drive and you send a PDF out, people can't change it unless it's.
Yeah, there are tools that you can, but
I know.
but yes, it can read.
That's all I
Like
want.
if you took a picture of this on your phone, you could upload it to Claude. It'll extract all the text. Yeah, no problem. And so yeah, you can see how powerful that is. That
Could you go back up?
sure
The gray.
here.
That's all you wrote, and it produced everything you've shown us so far.
Yep.
Well, no, because he asked a bunch of questions and then he answered the questions.
Yeah. So all these questions are definitely asked. That's where the clarifying questions script is helpful because then anything that it needs to know more context about, it'll ask. And so I'll be honest, I am kind of lazy sometimes when I prompt to, and so that just helps that it provides the necessary context that it needs.
Ask me questions so I know what you want.
Exactly, yeah. And because I use these tools a lot, it has a little bit of a memory bank on me already. But yeah, so just imagine, so hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of like the possibilities, because if you imagine, you can then set this up. I can at the end here say, okay, schedule this task to run every morning at 8 a.m. And it'll actually it can read all the inquiries that came in, draft replies for me. So imagine every morning coming to all your inquiries and, already having replies there that you just have to look over, and then you just modify it, and then you can send it. And so because our inquiries are very templated, it's pretty much the same thing every time. It's very easy for it to replicate. Obviously, certain emails are going to be more complicated, but one thing I'm going to work on is trying to get it so that it actually can draft responses to the majority of our emails. And I've seen people do this where you kind of give it very specific instructions, and you can actually tell it, I can tell it, look at the past 2 months of emails and come up with, our writing tone and voice, and create a writing style document, look at our typical answers to typical questions, and, create a database of that. And so I can type all that stuff in, it'll go through, it'll search and do all that stuff, just like it did here. It went through like the past month of inquiries to find kind of a template. And then once you start to, then I can have, okay, show me what emails are in an inbox. Okay, reply to this one. It'll show me what the reply is, and then I can start to refine it and say, actually, this is how I'd respond to it. And then it'll actually save that to its file here of how to improve, and then it'll improve over time. So it's just like you're training a person. It's like you have them try it, you offer feedback, it learns from the feedback, and then becomes a feedback loop, and then it learns.
So you have control over sending the email, it will not send it for you.
Correct, yeah. And so I can even show you in the settings here, you can pretty much set up under CoWork. So under here, you can give it specific instructions. So I gave it these instructions to ask before deleting files or overwriting or renaming anything, and to show a plan. So you can add that there. And then also connectors, you can add your connectors here. Let me see. This kind of gives you an example. If you go to add browse connections, like you can see all these different things like Gmail, yeah, you can connect it to your CRM, so I can tell it, hey, whenever we get a new inquiry, add it to our CRM. Whenever a new booking, that kind of stuff. So you can see it can connect to all these different tools, and then work within them.
Before you go out of there, can we talk about the usage? Run into usage.
Usage limitations.
Yeah.
So the more you use it, the more you'll kind of run into usage limitations. The biggest thing is if you use folders in a smart way, where like you pretty much say, the next level up, I guess you could say, is instead of just creating one folder for CoWork and then about me and that kind of stuff, you would literally create folders with like, use this folder when you're writing emails, use this folder when you're doing social media posts, use this folder when you're doing contracts and then you have very specific instructions within each of those, and then that way it doesn't have to think as much. Claude tends to overthink things just so that it can do them correctly, and so that uses a lot of tokens. So if you say just follow these instructions, and you can say, I want you to draft an email, it'll go, okay, we have a folder with instructions on how to write emails. It'll just follow those instructions and then produce the result, rather than having to search its whole knowledge base on how to write emails and that kind of stuff. There's more usage now because of they're building more infrastructure and that kind of stuff, but I'm running short on time, so I just want to get through the rest of this here quickly just so I can. So yeah, imagine what you can do with your business when you build this out. Obviously, like I said, you're gonna have to tweak it, but you can point now, like, imagine for writing proposals or contracts, if you do the same thing over and over again, just tell it, just upload, just give it all, put all that stuff into a folder that you give it access to and say, okay, here's like the past 10 contracts I've written. Can you create a template that you're gonna follow? If I give you these inputs, create this output. And so when in doubt, just ask if it can do it, because I didn't know. I just said, hey, can you do this for me? I didn't know that it was going to ask, oh yeah, how do I know if there's an available date or not? I just thought it was just going to respond with our template, but then it was just like, oh, I can actually access your Gmail or your Google Calendar and see if it's available or not and draft a different reply. So if you are not sure if it can do it, then you can just ask and then provide examples of what you've done in the past. Say, this is the inputs. If I give you these inputs, can you produce this outcome? And then, just like I did, I said, here's the input, image 1 of what it looks like. I could show you. So this is the input of what our inquiry looks like. Obviously, that's my name. We're already married. And so I said, this is what it looks like, input. This is what the output looks like. Can you recreate it? And then ask me questions for you to know what to do. And so, sure.
Can it access any email, and can it do it offline when? So it would need to know your password.
So I used Google Auth. So like, yeah. So you have to authorize it through, and Google has security ways that you do it. But it's just like when you're signing into, like, there's a lot of websites that when you're signing into, you sign it in through your Google account. It's kind of the same thing.
So you gave it permission though, to be as a connector.
Exactly.
Your Google Gmail is connected and it knows it.
Yep. So again, you can start to think for your business how powerful this can be and how it can save you time. So if there's anything that you spend time doing repeatedly, any repetitive tasks that you or any members, like staff members, do every week, just ask Claude CoWork to help you with automating them. And then if it does something that you don't like the results of, you can tweak it, you can refine it, give it feedback, and then it'll continue to use that feedback loop to get better over time. And so I know people who now have it completely draft replies for all their emails because it learned all the typical types of responses and their tone of voice and their speech patterns, everything, and was able to do that. And so I also provided kind of a simple prompt formula for CoWork, which I included in the document. You want to explain the context, the outcome, the constraints, and the output location. So example would be like, read the receipt images in this folder, create an outcome, create an expense report spreadsheet with date, vendor, category, amount, totals, constraints. If anything is blurry or unclear, mark it as needs reviewed, and then output location, save it in the outputs folder. So context, tell it what it's looking at. Outcome, tell it what the finished result you want. Constraints, tell it what not to do. And then output location, where to save the work. So think of one task in your business that you could potentially create a workflow or automate, like whether that's responding to inquiries like I did, summarizing calls or meeting notes, drafting follow-up emails, organizing things, whether it's like turning notes into proposals, cleaning up messy documents. So obviously every business is different, but you can start to think of if you can train an employee on how to do it, you should be able to train CoWork on how to do it as well.
Can you train it to delete your emails?
You can, if you trust it. You can give it, if you tell it very specific parameters, but you can also tell it, before you delete anything, confirm it first. And then it'll show you a list. Here's all these emails that I found that can be deleted, and then you just give it confirmation. So it's definitely built so that it'll always ask. See, there's ask. But you can change it so that it, if you want, you can also do act without asking if you're brave. If you give it enough context, if you train it long enough, just like an employee, that you can fully trust it, then you can get to that point. And so in the very limited time we have left, I just wanted to give you an idea of some automations. And you can, I think it's on the handout, 5 typical automations that most businesses that can maybe save time, save money, or generate revenue. And those would be speed to lead systems, document processing, follow-up sequences, database reactivation, or internal reporting. So to put it simply, it can help you respond faster to leads, process documents automatically, follow up with interested prospects, reactivate old leads, and send internal reports and alerts. Let me just jump back here quick. So I'll try to go through this real quick. This is just to give you an idea of, if you're not sure where to start, these are some good places to start. And so, for example, speed to lead, if you're experiencing that you tend to be slow to response to new leads, this might be something that you need. Whereas, if you have too much manual admin and data entry, document processing would be helpful. You can think of, what do we copy and paste weekly? Leads go cold after first contact, then follow-up sequences would be helpful. And then if your old contacts get ignored, database reactivation can be helpful. If you feel like you need more visibility in your business, internal reporting can be helpful. So when it comes to speed to lead, the idea here is that depending on what type of business you have, usually when someone inquires, the faster you respond, the more likely you are to gain the customer. And Harvard Business Review had done this thing that companies that respond within 5 minutes are 100 times more likely to convert that sale. And so you can be thinking about, how can you get AI to somehow draft, or you can set it up, if you're not comfortable with it sending, you can have it draft a reply and then notify you somehow that, hey, you had an inquiry, I already drafted a response. You can just click on it, go in, see it, hit send. And so here's kind of an idea. Website form is submitted. AI replies in a few seconds. It adds it to the CRM. You get a summarized text, or you get notified. And so this can be set up through CoWork, like I showed you, or other automation tools, which, yeah, we don't have time to cover. So just think about what steps you always go through when it comes to an inquiry coming through. What are those steps? Can any of those steps get automated? Another, I don't know if I have time to demo this, but another thing is AI voice agents. So if you can't answer the phone all the time, or if you don't answer the phone after hours and you get a lot of like voicemails, AI voice agent can pick up the call and get the process flowing. So I built an AI voice agent for a concrete company where he still took all the calls, but he would be on job sites sometimes, so he's in the middle of something, he can't pick up the phone, or after hours he wants to be home with his family. And so we set up an agent for him that if he doesn't answer after like 3 or 4 rings, it'll go to the AI voice agent. It'll then answer the phone and say, hey, this is an AI assistant for this decorative concrete company. How can I help you? And then it'll ask them what they're looking for, describe the project, where they're located, their name and number, and then it'll say, hey, can we send you the quote request form that you can fill out so we have all that data there. And then if they say yes, after the call, it'll text them in their phone so they get the link, and so he said it's helped him to get a lot of more inquiries as a result, because after hours, it's capturing all that information. Or if they want to get a hold of him, it'll take a message and then it'll email him that message afterwards. So I have a demo.
Hi, this is Anna, an AI assistant for Concrete. How can I help you today?
Looking for a quote on a patio.
Mind if I ask where the project is located?
Harrisburg.
Thanks. Can you tell me a little about what you're looking to have done with the patio?
Looking for stamped concrete, probably a retaining wall, and some of the ground needs to be leveled.
The best next step is our quote request form. It lets you share everything in one place. If you can send photos or a quick video, that really helps our sales team give the most accurate estimate. Would it be okay if I sent that link by text?
Sure.
What's the best number to text it to? Thank you. Just to confirm, I have... Is that correct?
Yes.
And your full name? Perfect. I'll send that over shortly. Once it's filled out, someone will reach out within a few days. Thanks for calling. Have a great day.
Is that on his iPhone or is it on his landline?
So he has a business number, and then it forwards. So if you're interested, it's called Retell AI that you can set it up. If you reach out to me, I can always send you the info for that. And then, yeah, when it comes to the other stuff like document processing, obviously just think through, what data do you move from one document to another, or from one place to another, like PDFs or invoices to a CRM, like that kind of stuff. Super easy to automate. So just ask CoWork, how do you move this stuff from here to there? It can do that. Follow up and nurture sequences. That's just pretty much saying like, hey, these leads haven't responded. I sent them an inquiry. Like, how can you follow up with them? You can ask, again, CoWork for that. Or database reactivation is like if you have a reoccurring client base, but somebody hasn't, you have a lot of old leads in your database, for example, you can ask it to draft a response, maybe, just to follow up, warm up some of those leads. And then internal reporting, obviously, you can create a dashboard. You can say, hey, I want to see where our sales are at, what projects are, unmet, any updates or invoices or anything, and it can create pretty much a reporting dashboard in a sense for you that every morning it'll like update all that stuff. So the main question you want to ask for yourself is, what information or what do you do on a consistent, regular basis that you feel like could be automated? So I have this in the notes as well. So to find your first automation, if you go through these questions and really ask yourself, where do you lose time or leads or that kind of stuff, it can start to help you to think through, okay, this is an area that I could potentially try. So my encouragement is pick one tool, practice with it. If you haven't tried Claude, I'd 100% recommend trying it out. Try the prompting framework, try creating a project, and then as you get used to that, I definitely would say, you can always try for 1 month, spend $20 to just try out CoWork and see how it works. And then I have a link, or you can always email me if you need help setting it up. And so on the last page, again, there's the link to the website. It has some useful links there, has prompts there. And then obviously I've included my email as well. If you want to get in contact, I'm happy to, in a sense, provide kind of like a business audit, if you will, to help you kind of think through your business and think through ways that you can potentially save time or save money or potentially generate more revenue. And then I can help you. I can either provide you with resources if you want to try it yourself, give you some direction on that, or if you wanted to hire me or my business to do that, we can talk about that as well. But I just love helping people, and AI, again, it's so new, and I think it can be so helpful to people. So I love just being able to help other people implement it. So yeah, thanks again for coming and hearing about AI, learning about AI.
Let's thank him. Yeah.